Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to see all of you all here this morning. So as Robin mentioned, I wear a number of hats. Of course, there's a mentor of mine here in the audience. We refer to ourselves as working entrepreneurs. So I'm one of those folks that has a 9-to-5 job, and then at 5:01, I transitioned into my entrepreneurial activities, which is okay, right? It's okay, Mr. Jackson, right? So I'm here today I've got the pleasure and honor of introducing our keynote speaker here for this morning's kickoff of Entrepreneur Week. Mr. Don Snyder is, I like to call him one of Detroit's premier serial entrepreneurs here in our community. I think his success speaks for itself. I'll read from you a couple of his successful entrepreneurial endeavors throughout his career. But currently, Mr. Snyder is president and CEO of his own consulting firm called Metro Business Connect LLC, where he provides access to capital and economic gardening to growing small businesses and startups. One of his current clients is Detroit Renewable Energy, which owns the Detroit Thermal LLC company, where that company provides heating and cooling to more than 140 buildings in downtown and midtown Detroit. Mr. Snyder, as I mentioned, he has a very illustrious background in entrepreneurship. From 2011 to 2012, Mr. Snyder served as vice president of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, where one of his signature projects was bringing the Whole Foods market to the city of Detroit in Midtown. Mr. Snyder was also, from 2009 to 2012, president and CEO of Walden Foods LLC, where he owned and operated 2 Papa John's franchises in the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti area, and he employed 40 full-time and part-time employees. Also prior to that, Mr. Snyder was president and CEO of Paper Class Converting. For about 25 years, Mr. Snyder served as an entrepreneur in this organization, where Paper Class was a tier 1 automotive supplier. Mr. Snyder was in the industrial paper, packaging, and assembly business. He had 70 employees, and his customers included Chrysler Group, as well as Dana Corporation and Cummins Engine. I could go on and on with Mr. Snyder's accomplishments. I will say that he's an award-winning entrepreneur. He's won numerous awards, particularly from organizations such as the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as the Michigan Minority Business Development Council, where he won Supplier of the Year. Wow, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, he's won the MMBDC Supplier of the Year award a number of years. So with that, I want to thank Mr. Snyder for being here today. Mr. Snyder, I can say, is someone who I look up to as an aspiring entrepreneur, and he's bailed me out on a number of occasions as being a guest speaker at other entrepreneurial events that I've had the pleasure of working with. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Mr. Donald Snyder. I also have to mention Mr. Snyder is the author of a book. I'm going to plug his book as well. His book is called Beyond the Bling, and in the book he provides real-world practical steps to financial success. You can go to his website, www.beyondtheblingbook.com. So, Mr. Donald Snyder.
Good morning. Thank Marcus for that nice introduction. He gave me extra 10 years with Paper Class. I was only there for 15. He said 25, so I'm not quite that old yet. But he also mentioned how I bailed him out. When somebody tells you that, that means that I'm not getting paid. I'm doing this for free because I want to give back. No, but I enjoy being here this morning. I love to take the opportunity to talk to folks who are interested in going into business, becoming an entrepreneur, and to get a start in business. And I've done something different today. I brought some books. People ask me when I get done speaking, well, what books could I read and what books should I look into? So I bought a couple books, and one really got me on the track on starting my company called Paper Plast, which is a Tier 1 automotive supplier that Marcus mentioned. And I ended up having 3 plants, one in Detroit, one in Milwaukee, and one in Cincinnati. And I had 70 employees. And this book called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald Lewis, you need to read it. I read this book in 1994, and I launched my business in 1995-96. It is a heck of a motivational book where this gentleman was a lawyer, came out of Harvard. He bought businesses like Jiffy, Patterns, Simplicity Patterns. He kept buying small businesses until he landed a major deal, which was Beatrice International, which was a $1 billion deal. That first time an African American did a deal like that of that size. Even though he did different things, the book was motivational to tell me how to approach what I want to do. And when you read books of motivation and you put the book down and you go back, you need to ask yourself, it's been 3 to 5 years. What have you done since you read the book? Any motivational book that I picked up to read, I implement something right away. 3 to 5 years are going to pass me by and I still look around and I haven't done anything. Another book you need to read is The E-Myth, written by Mr. Gerber. That covers 3 levels. That covers what we call a technician, it covers management, and it covers the visionary of when you're starting a business and a company. And in our circle, rather than saying technician, management, or visionary, we call them grinders, minders, and finders. You grind it out, you mine it out from management, from a certain point of view, and then you have to basically establish how you're going to get to the next level. Very good book to read. Most entrepreneurs go through all 3 of those levels when you're starting a business. I went through that. Very helpful. And then last but not least, the book that Marcus talked about, Beyond the Bling. I wrote the book. It has my Chrysler Corporation story in there, which kind of made me very successful in the automotive industry. And it also talks about mentoring. It talks about networking. And also talks about my faith. Because believe me, when you're in the business world, you need to latch on to some faith in order to make it. These books are easy to get. Barnes & Noble, Amazon. If you got e-readers or a Kindle, you can load them down. It doesn't cost but a couple dollars. I want to start off saying that I'm concerned about our situation and where, not only where America is today, but also in our state. That to say that Americans are living on the edge, they're not saving any money. 44% of Americans do not have a safety net to cover them for 3 months. And also 1/3 of Americans in this country do not even have a savings account. That's something to be concerned about. And I look out in the audience and I think about the savings account business. I see my good friend, Jeff Koppelman. Raise your hand, Jeff. He's president of Main Street Bank, who's in Birmingham. Good community bank. When people are looking for deals and you need to talk to a banker and talk to someone personal. Even though I sit on other bank boards, talking to a manager of a bank can only go so far. You need to talk to a vice president or president of a bank who can understand and take time to deal with you. After all, if you're a president and CEO of your company, why aren't you talking to other presidents and CEOs that can relate to you? That's the mindset that you need to be in. I'm glad to see Jeff here today. I want to start off, and let's get ready for a ride. I'll try to take you on a quick ride. I'm going to give you things to think about. And it's up to you to connect the dots on what you want to do with those things to make whatever road you're going down successful. So I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff out there. Feel free to write some of it down. But I'm done speaking. Don't come back and ask me, well, man, what did you say back? No. You need to write it down now. If you're going to be a good entrepreneur, you need to write the stuff down so you can implement it. Just like reading those books of Who Moved the Cheese and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I met people who read those books 10 years ago. They're still doing the same old, same old. They haven't done anything. So, again, you need to write stuff down and you need to put it in implementation. There's a misguided nomer. I call it one of my many nomers. That we're brought up to say that you can be anything you want to be if you try hard enough. If you think about that, I say it's a misnomer because that's not true. When I use myself as an example. When I was growing up, people kept saying, oh, you look like Smokey Robinson. You look like Smokey. Well, I can't sing like Smokey. I can't even sing at all. No matter how many lessons I had or practices I went to, it never happened. And I watch our young kids today who they say you can be like Michael Jordan or Kobe, and they're spending all this money on tennis shoes, and they're going to practices, they're going to summer camps, all this spare time they're practicing. If you don't have the God-given talent or a skill set to work with, then you're really investing in the wrong thing, which I call weaknesses. They spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, buying tools, going to seminars, all that, to build a weakness. You need to redirect that energy and build on your strengths. That is what's going to get you ahead. And I say build on your strengths because if you spend more time on your deficiencies, you will overlook what your strengths could possibly be. And I'm saying, we read the stories through movies and folklores and other stories about how somebody, 1 in a million, made it. Well, those are some pretty high odds, 1 in a million. But I challenge you today, that when most of you all came here today, you came from a home, apartment, a condo. Somebody cooked you breakfast, or you cooked your own breakfast, or you purchased breakfast on the way here. But if you think back of that movie called Pursuit to Happiness that starred Will Smith. Think about that movie. How many people saw that movie, Pursuit to Happiness? What I just described and what you guys did this morning before you got here, Will Smith was way below that. He didn't have none of that. He had a child. He stayed in the bathroom of the bus station or train station. He was in soup lines trying to get fed. He was trying to drop his kids off at the daycare center. The struggles that he had, economically and financially, he was down here. What I described, how you all got here today, you're here. How can he come from down here and go up to the ceiling? What did he do or what has he done that you haven't done? And you were way ahead of him. You had a head start. So that goes back to what I say. When you read books and you listen to things, when are you going to implement something to get something done? So how do I turn the misnomer around? I want to say you cannot be anything you want to be, but you can be a lot more of who you already are, and you need to invest into that. Now, I want to talk about time. When you want to go into business, you have to realize how you're going to divide your time and who you're going to waste your time with. I'm telling you, your time is valuable and it's worth something. When people tell you that I was thinking about an idea and then do nothing, when they tell that to me, I can relate it to eating a hot bowl of tomato soup with a fork. It's hard to eat liquid soup with a fork. That's a waste of time to tell me you had an idea and you did nothing. Or watching paint dry. Maybe that's good for a painter, but it's not good for me. Or watching fish swim. That's got to be very boring after a while, watching fish swim. So understand that when people talk to you like that, are they going anywhere? Are they going to implement and do anything?